Welcome back, everyone. We got some pretty fascinating excerpts from
Yeah.
Adam Koo's Master Your Mind, Design Your Destiny. And
Yeah.
today we're going to really unpack some of his core principles for unlocking your potential.
Yeah.
So whether you're looking for, a career change or stronger relationships,
Mhm.
just feeling a little bit more unstuck,
Mhm.
Koo's insights might be just the thing.
Yeah. And we've got the advantage here of two perspectives. So we've got, Koo himself, self-made millionaire,
Right.
peak performance trainer,
Yeah.
best-selling author.
Yeah.
And then we've also got his co-author, Stuart Tan.
Right.
Tan brings in NLP expertise,
Yes.
and he worked with the Singapore Armed Forces, actually,
really?
to improve their performance.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, this whole idea of, modeling excellence
Yeah.
that Koo talks about, I mean, that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
He went from underachieving student to top performer
Mm.
by really just looking at what high achievers were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be inspiring, right?
Yeah.
For someone who feels, like they're stuck.
Yeah, it is a very, very powerful idea. And Koo argues that it's applicable to almost anything.
Okay.
Anyone, he says, can achieve extraordinary results if they can figure out the patterns of successful people and then, just replicate them.
Mhm.
And this isn't just theory.
Right.
It's actually backed up by real-world successes.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so take Stuart Tan's work with the Singapore Armed Forces shooting team.
Say.
He observed the very best shooters and broke down their techniques, and then he taught those strategies
Right.
to new recruits.
Interesting.
And what happened?
What?
The team won their championship for the first time ever.
So it's not just, blindly copying. It's, like you said, it's more like reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Figuring out the why behind what they're doing.
Precisely. And this ties into Koo's ultimate success formula,
Okay.
BXXXAR.
What's that now?
Beliefs times strategy times action equals results.
Right.
So beliefs, strategies, action get you results.
Okay. This is where, I get a little skeptical. I mean, how much can our beliefs really impact our outcomes?
Right.
Isn't that just positive thinking?
That's a very fair question.
Yeah.
Koo argues that beliefs are the foundation.
Oh,
It's like the bedrock on which everything else is built. And he uses a really, really great analogy, a table.
yeah.
A belief is like the tabletop,
Yeah.
and the legs are all the pieces of evidence supporting that belief.
I like this.
So if you imagine you have a limiting belief, let's say I'm not good at public speaking.
Yeah.
That belief is propped up by legs, like past experiences, maybe where you felt really nervous, you got negative feedback.
Right.
To change that belief, you've got to kick out those legs,
Oh,
challenge the evidence,
Yeah.
find counterexamples.
So maybe I remember a time when I did give a good presentation.
Yeah.
Or, maybe someone gave me positive feedback once,
yeah.
and I'm basically weakening that support structure
Exactly.
of that limiting belief.
Yeah. And Koo himself is actually a really great example of how these beliefs can make or break success.
Mhm.
So his Patterns of Excellence program
Yeah.
initially flopped, even with solid strategies in place. And he realized he had this limiting belief that the program would just automatically succeed
Right.
without needing any tweaks or feedback.
Well,
And once he challenged that belief, he got feedback.
Yeah.
He adapted. And then the program became a massive success.
oh, wow. That's interesting.
Right.
So that's a good reminder that even experts,
Yeah,
have to work on their beliefs.
absolutely.
It's not like set it and forget it.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's another thing that makes me kind of, raise an eyebrow. This whole take 100% responsibility thing.
Right.
I mean, what about when things genuinely are outside of our control? Are we supposed to blame ourselves for everything?
That's a common misconception.
Yeah.
Koo isn't saying that we should ignore external factors
Right.
or beat ourselves up when things go wrong. He's saying that focusing on what you can control
Right.
is far more empowering
Yeah.
than staying stuck in that victim mentality.
So it's less about blame and more about kind of taking ownership of your choices,
Yeah.
even in difficult situations, right?
Exactly. Think of it this way. There's a difference between responsibility
Okay.
and fault.
Right.
Koo uses this analogy of a scale. Most people, they pile all the weight on the other people's fault side of the scale,
Yeah.
but he's saying shift all that weight
Okay.
onto your side of the scale.
Meaning, even if something's not my fault, I still have responsibility for how I respond to
And
it.
exactly. That shift in perspective, that's where the power comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You start to see the power that you have.
Right.
And he's got real life examples of people who faced incredible adversity,
Mm.
but they chose to focus on what they could control, and it led them to create positive change in their lives.
That makes sense.
Right.
But let's get back to beliefs for a second. Ku goes pretty deep, right, on how our beliefs actually shape our reality.
Yeah.
And I got to admit, this is the part where I'm like, whoa,
Right.
this is getting kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about the placebo effect, for example.
Yeah.
People's health actually improving.
Right.
Because they believe a treatment's going to work, even if it's a sugar pill.
Yeah.
That's the power of belief.
Right.
And Ku's arguing you can use this same power to shape your own reality.
And he even uses the example of Mr. Wright,
Right.
whose belief in this cancer drug, even though it was later found to be ineffective,
Yeah.
it drastically improved his conditions. Like, our beliefs can actually influence our biochemistry, our immune systems.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's amazing.
And this all ties back to why identifying...
And challenging those limiting beliefs is so important.
Mm.
Remember the table analogy.
Right.
You weaken the legs, supporting those negative beliefs,
Yeah.
and then they crumble, leaving space for those empowering beliefs to take hold.
So, like, instead of I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
it's more like I have the potential to succeed if I, learn and grow. Okay, that's making more sense now.
Mm-hmm.
But Ku doesn't stop there.
No.
He talks about, like, mastering your state, too, right? Like our emotional state.
Yeah, he argues that our emotions are directly linked to two things:
Okay.
our physiology,
What's it?
our body language and our physical state, and then our internal representations, meaning the thoughts, images, and sounds that we create in our minds.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's like changing that whole internal landscape.
Exactly.
Okay.
And one technique he introduces is called modeling physiology.
You can actually access resourceful states by consciously adopting the posture,
Right.
the breathing, even the facial expressions of someone who already embodies that state.
Wait, so you're saying if I stand like Superman,
Mm-hmm.
I'm automatically going to feel more confident?
It might sound a little strange,
Yeah.
but there's real science behind it. Try this. Think of a time when you felt incredibly confident.
Oh.
Really relive that moment in your mind. Now, pay attention to your posture. How are you breathing? What are your facial expressions like? What do you notice?
Okay, yeah, I'm sitting up straighter. I'm breathing deeper. I'm even kind of got a little smirk on my face.
Right. Now imagine consciously recreating that same physiology whenever you need a boost of confidence.
Okay, yeah.
Ku's arguing that by changing your body,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually trigger that shift in your mental and emotional state.
And he talks about Andre Agassi, right?
Yes.
Like how he worked with Tony Robbins
He had a tennis superstar.
to regain his confidence
Right.
by accessing those peak states.
It really highlights that mind-body connection, something Ku talks about throughout the whole book.
It's fascinating.
Right.
So we've got beliefs, we've got mastering our state, and then there was something else about anchoring, right?
Yes.
Like training your brain
Mhm.
to access specific emotions on demand.
Exactly. Ku describes it as creating your own emotional keyboard.
When?
Imagine being able to like press a key and instantly trigger confidence, motivation, calmness.
Okay, now that's a superpower
Yeah.
I could get behind.
Right.
But how does it actually work?
Well, he gives us practical steps for
Yeah.
creating these anchors. It involves pairing a specific stimulus. So this could be a touch, a sound, even a mental image
Right.
with a desired emotional state.
So like if I wanted to create an anchor for confidence,
Mm-hmm.
I could think of a time when I felt super confident and then like squeeze my thumb and forefinger together
Yeah.
while I'm reliving that memory.
Yes, you're associating that physical sensation with the feeling of confidence. And with repetition, that simple gesture becomes a trigger to access that feeling
Wow.
whenever you need it.
That's so cool. I'm
Mhm.
definitely trying this. Are there like real world examples of anchoring
Tons.
Okay.
Think about how brands like Nike use athletes to anchor their products to feelings of athleticism and achievement.
Right.
Or how a particular song can instantly transport you back to a specific memory.
Right. Oh my gosh, yes.
And evoke those emotions.
Like just hearing the opening chords of My Heart Will Go On, I get all mushy and romantic, even though I know the movie ends tragically.
Exactly. And Koo even mentions how anchoring can be used to overcome phobias, although he doesn't really go into detail in these excerpts.
Mm-hmm. It's remarkable.
It's a really versatile technique.
This is mind-blowing.
Right.
But we've covered a lot of ground already. And I know Koo also talks about this thing called reframing, right?
Yes.
Where you change the meaning you give to experiences.
Absolutely. And reframing is a really, really powerful technique. And it's all about shifting your perspective to access more resourceful states. So there are two main types he talks about: content reframing and context reframing.
Okay, so explain those a little bit more.
Okay.
Content reframing, is that like changing the narrative in your head?
Yeah, you got it.
100%.
It's changing the way you think about the experience itself. So let's say you're really stressed about a big presentation at work.
Okay, yeah.
Content reframing might be shifting your focus from "I'm going to mess this up" to "this is a chance to showcase my expertise and connect with my audience."
Okay, yeah.
So you're reframing the content of the experience to make it less threatening.
And context reframing, I'm guessing that's changing the bigger picture, right?
Precisely.
Okay.
So context reframing could be thinking, even if the presentation doesn't go perfectly, it's just one presentation, it's not going to define my entire career. So you're putting the experience into a larger context, which can really lessen its impact.
So it's like, zooming out, right?
Yeah.
To get a wider perspective.
Yeah. And Koo shares examples from his own life in business and personal relationships.
Okay.
And shows how he's used reframing to turn these challenges into opportunities.
I like that.
He even offers some practical exercises to help you practice reframing those everyday challenges we all face.
Like dealing with, difficult coworkers.
Yeah, or like handling setbacks and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because reframing is a skill, right?
Exactly. It's something you can learn and develop.
This is awesome. But I think we need to kind of pause here for a second and let all this sink in. We've covered a lot of powerful concepts.
Yeah.
Modeling excellence, the impact of beliefs, mastering our state, anchoring and reframing.
Right.
It's like Koo is giving us this whole new toolbox for shaping our reality.
Absolutely. The key takeaway, though, I think so far is this.
You have far more control over your thoughts, your emotions, your actions than you probably realize.
And he's giving us these practical techniques to harness that control and create the life that we want.
Right. It's not just abstract concepts. It's about putting them into practice.
Okay. All right. Deep breaths, everyone. Deep breaths. Where do we go from here? What other mind-blowing insights does Koo have in store for us?
Well, next, we're going to look at the role of values as driving forces in our lives.
Values. Okay.
Yeah. So Koo argues that understanding your values is actually essential for achieving true fulfillment and success.
Okay. Values. That sounds kind of abstract.
Right.
How does that tie into everything else?
You'd be surprised. Koo makes a compelling case for how your values can either propel you forward or actually hold you back.
Okay.
And he offers practical advice on how to align your values with your goals.
Right.
So you're not working against yourself.
I'm intrigued. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's unpack this whole values thing. Koo, he describes values as emotional hot buttons.
Okay.
The things that really light you up, or conversely, make you want to run for the hills. They're like the underlying motivations for all our decisions and actions.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. If I value creativity, I'm probably going to be more drawn to a career that allows me to express that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Koo differentiates between what he calls towards values, things that we want to move towards, and then away from values, things we want to avoid.
So a towards value might be something like achievement.
Yeah.
Or connection.
Right.
Whereas away from might be failure or loneliness.
Spot on. And here's where it gets interesting. Koo argues that the way we define our values can actually sabotage our success.
Wait, what? How can having values be a bad thing?
It's not about the values themselves, but how we frame them. For instance, let's say your main value is avoiding failure. You might become so risk-averse that you never actually take the necessary steps to reach your goals.
So it's You're so focused on not losing
Yeah,
that you forget to actually play the game.
exactly. Koo emphasizes this, reframing those away from values into more empowering towards values.
Right.
So instead of avoiding failure, you
Okay.
could focus on achieving success
Right.
or learning and growing from mistakes.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But how do you even, like, figure out what your values are in the first place?
Right.
Is there, like, a values test or something?
Well, Koo does give a few exercises in the book, but one simple way is to just think about times in your life when you felt truly fulfilled
Yeah.
and satisfied.
Right.
What was it about those experiences that really resonated with you? What needs were being met?
That's a good point. It's not always obvious, is it,
No.
what we actually value until we really sit down and think about it. Okay, so once we've kind of figured that out, how do we make sure those values are actually aligned with our goals?
That's a crucial question because Koo emphasizes that when your values and goals are in conflict, it creates this internal friction
Right.
and makes it way harder to achieve what you want.
Can you give me, like, an example?
Sure. Let's say you really value spending time with your family, right? But your career goals require you to work crazy hours and travel a lot. That misalignment, that's going to create a lot of stress and dissatisfaction no matter how much you achieve professionally.
So how do you fix that? Do you have to, like, choose one or the other?
Not necessarily. Koo says it's often about finding those creative solutions, right? Making adjustments. Maybe you could negotiate for like a more flexible work arrangement. Or maybe you prioritize quality time with your family on the weekends. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Honoring both your values and your aspirations.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not always about, like, these massive life changes. It's about figuring out how to integrate those values into our day-to-day lives.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about beliefs, state management, anchoring, reframing, and values. I'm starting to feel like I need a whiteboard to keep track of all this.
I know, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It all starts to connect, though, as we go deeper.
Okay.
And this next principle, this is one of my favorites. The power of stretch goals.
Stretch goals. That sounds kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
Isn't the whole point of goal setting to be, like, realistic?
That's where most people stop short.
Okay.
Koo argues that it's setting those really ambitious, even seemingly impossible goals that pushes us to those breakthrough results.
But what if you set a stretch goal and then, like, you don't reach it? Isn't that just setting yourself up for disappointment?
Koo would say even if you fall short of that stretch goal, you're still going to achieve way more than you would have with a more modest goal.
Right.
It's about pushing beyond your perceived limitations.
So it's like aiming for the stars, even if you only reach the moon, kind of thing.
That's a great way to put it.
Oh, okay.
And he's got some inspiring examples like Suichiro Honda,
Right.
the founder of Honda Motor Company. He faced like multiple setbacks, rejections, but he never gave up on those big goals.
And look at what he accomplished. I mean, Honda's one of the most successful automobile companies in the world.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need to be thinking bigger, bolder, but how do we even identify what our stretch goals are? Like, where do we even start?
Well, Koo suggests brainstorming a list of things that you would absolutely love to achieve if you knew you couldn't fail.
Okay.
So don't censor yourself at all.
Right.
Just let those big, audacious dreams flow.
Okay, no holding back. But what if some of those dreams, what if they just seem completely unrealistic?
That's the point. Stretch goals should challenge your assumptions about what's possible.
Okay.
And here's the key. Koo argues that when you set that stretch goal, it forces your mind to come up with creative strategies and solutions that you never would have considered otherwise.
So it's like your brain goes into overdrive, searching for ways to, like, make the impossible possible.
Exactly. And he uses the example of the Singaporean government
Okay.
setting these seemingly impossible goals for their national development.
Right.
And they completely transformed the country from a third world nation into a thriving first world economy in just a few decades.
That's pretty incredible.
Right.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of this. But I got to be honest, setting those kinds of goals can feel really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Where do you even begin to break them down into, like, manageable steps?
That's where the concept of modeling excellence comes back in.
Good.
Remember, Koo emphasizes studying the strategies of those who've already achieved similar goals.
So if my stretch goal is, like, to write a best-selling novel, I might study the habits and routines of successful authors.
Exactly. You look for those patterns, the common threads in their approach. What strategies did they use? What challenges did they face? How did they overcome them?
Yeah.
What resources did they leverage?
It's like having that blueprint for success, that roadmap
Yeah.
to guide you on your journey.
Precisely. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of Ku's approach, which is understanding how our minds work at a much deeper level.
Okay.
He talks about the idea of mental strategies.
Mental strategies.
These are the internal processes we use for everything,
Okay.
from making decisions
Yeah.
to learning new information.
Okay, so mental strategies, it's kind of like those life hacks you see online.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing Ku's approach is a little more nuanced than that.
definitely.
Yeah.
He argues that we all have these internal recipes for how we approach different tasks.
Right.
And those recipes are made up of a very specific sequence of thoughts, images, and feelings that lead to a certain outcome.
So it's like a program running in the background of our minds,
Yeah.
kind of dictating how we respond to different situations.
Exactly. And Ku emphasizes that it's important to become aware of both our effective and our ineffective strategies. So if you have a strategy that makes you incredibly creative,
Yeah.
understanding how it works allows you to replicate that
Right.
on demand.
If you have a strategy that leads to, like, procrastination or self-sabotage, understanding those steps
Right.
is the first step toward changing it.
Exactly. It's about becoming the master programmer of your own mind.
Wow.
And Ku even provides a script for uncovering someone's strategy through careful questioning.
Oh, wow.
He calls it becoming a mental detective.
Okay, this is blowing my mind a little bit. So are you saying we can literally reprogram our brains to be more successful?
That's the essence of Ku's message. He argues that by understanding these underlying mechanics of our minds,
Yeah.
we can identify and replace those ineffective strategies with more empowering ones.
This is incredible. But I'm starting to get the sense that this modeling excellence thing
Yeah.
is more than just copying someone's actions,
Yeah.
right? It's about understanding those mental processes that are driving those actions.
You're getting it. It's about reverse engineering that success blueprint, decoding the mental software that allows them to achieve those extraordinary results.
So less about fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
More about understand it till you embody it.
Now you're getting it.
Okay.
And Ku believes that anyone can learn to become a faster modeler. He encourages us to identify those role models
Right.
in the areas that we want to excel in, study their strategies, and then adapt those strategies to our own context.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to reinvent the wheel,
No.
right? We can leverage that wisdom and experience of those who've already done it.
Absolutely.
But how do we choose the right role models? Are we just supposed to, like, pick someone we admire and try to copy everything they do?
That's where things can get a little tricky. Ku cautions against blindly copying anyone.
Right.
It's about identifying the specific strategies and qualities that resonate with you and your values. And he gives a great analogy.
Okay, lay it on me. I love a good analogy.
Imagine you're building a house. You wouldn't just copy the design of your neighbor's house, would you?
Oh, of course not. I want my house to reflect my own style, my own personality.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does that apply to modeling excellence?
It's the same principle. You're not trying to become a carbon copy of your role model.
Okay.
You're taking inspiration from their success blueprint
Yeah.
and then adapting it to create your own unique masterpiece.
So it's about taking the best of what they have to offer and then blending it with your own strengths, and values.
Exactly. It's about creating that hybrid model that's tailor-made for you.
Okay.
And Ku offers some really specific questions to ask yourself when you're choosing role models and figuring out what strategies you want to emulate.
Like what?
So he suggests asking yourself, what are their core beliefs and values? What are their strengths and weaknesses? What specific strategies did they use to achieve their success? What challenges did they overcome? And most importantly, how can I adapt their approach to fit my own unique circumstances?
So it's like conducting this thorough analysis, really getting to the heart of what makes them tick.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to limit yourself to just one role model.
Right.
You can draw inspiration from multiple sources, creating like this composite blueprint that combines the best of the best.
Okay, this is starting to feel really empowering. Like I'm not just stuck with the mental programming I've, inherited.
Yeah.
I can actually choose the programs I want to run.
That's the beauty of Ku's approach.
Yeah.
He's giving us the tools to become the architects of our own minds and destinies.
But I have to ask, with all this talk about like modeling excellence, are we in danger of losing our individuality?
Right.
Will we all just end up like clones of the same successful people?
That's a valid concern, but Ku emphasizes that modeling isn't about becoming somebody else. It's about identifying the strategies and mindsets that resonate with your own values and aspirations.
So it's about using their success as a springboard
Yeah.
to launch your own unique journey.
Exactly. It's about leveraging the wisdom of others to unlock your own potential.
This is really resonating with me, but I think we need to kind of pause here again
Okay.
and just let this all sink in.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground in this section. From the power of values, setting those stretch goals, understanding how our minds work.
It's a lot, right?
It's like Ku is peeling back the layers of the onion, revealing those hidden mechanisms that drive success.
Yeah, it is a lot to absorb. But I think the key takeaway is this. You have far more control over your thoughts, your emotions, your actions than you probably realize.
And by understanding these principles,
Yeah.
we can actually start to make conscious choices
Right.
that lead us toward the lives that we truly want.
Exactly. It's about moving from that mindset of limitation to a mindset of possibility.
Okay, I'm ready for the next level.
Yeah.
What else does Ku have in store for us? What's the final piece of this puzzle?
Well, next we're going to look at Ku's step-by-step process for actually designing your destiny through goal setting.
Okay.
He gives us a really clear roadmap for turning those dreams into reality.
Okay, bring it on. I'm ready to start building my dream life.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've explored a ton of these powerful concepts from Adam Ku's Master Your Mind, Design Your Destiny. Beliefs, state management, values, stretch goals. I mean,
It's a lot.
it's like a mental boot camp.
Yeah.
But let's get down to like the practical stuff here.
Yeah.
How do we put all this into action
Right.
and really design the life that we want?
That's where Ku's goal-setting process comes in. He makes this argument that goal setting, it isn't about creating a rigid step-by-step plan. It's about establishing this clear vision for the future
Okay.
and then having a roadmap for how to get there.
So it's more about setting a direction than like dictating every single step along the way.
Exactly. And he encourages us to think big, envision that ideal life across all these different areas. So personal growth, relationships, career, finances, even our contributions to the world.
Okay, I'm ready to dream big.
Yeah.
But I've always struggled with this goal-setting thing. I write down my goals, I get all excited,
Yeah.
and then life happens. I get distracted.
Right.
And then those goals just end up gathering dust.
Right.
What does Ku say about that?
Well, he acknowledges that, a lot of that traditional goal-setting advice, it falls short.
Right.
It's not enough to just write them down and hope to the best. You need a system,
Yeah.
a framework to actually keep you on track.
So what's Ku's, secret sauce here? What makes his approach so different?
Well, first of all, he emphasizes setting specific, measurable goals.
Okay.
So vague goals like be happier or make more money, they're too, nebulous, You need these clear targets.
So instead of be happier, it might be meditate for 10 minutes every day or spend an hour a week doing something I love.
Exactly. Those are goals you can track, you can measure, which
Right.
keeps you accountable.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about, motivation? How do you stay motivated when those inevitable obstacles show up?
That's where Ku's other principles come in, right? Remember modeling excellence. He says we should look to people
Okay.
who've already achieved those similar goals
Yeah.
and really study their strategies.
So what challenges did they face? How did they overcome them? What resources did they use?
Exactly. It's about leveraging that collective wisdom
Right.
of those who've gone before us.
So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel,
Yeah,
then learn from the people who've already paved the path.
precisely. And Ku reminds us that even those people who look like overnight successes,
Oh.
they've usually faced a ton of setbacks and challenges along the way.
That's good to know. Makes it all a little less daunting. But what about those limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
The ones that say you're not good enough, you'll never achieve that.
Right.
How do you silence those voices
Yeah.
and just stay focused?
Ah, yes, the inner critic.
Yeah.
Ku has a whole arsenal of techniques for dealing with those negative thoughts. Remember reframing.
Yeah.
He says challenge the validity of those thoughts.
Right.
Reframe them into something more empowering.
So instead of I'll never achieve that, it's I'm willing to learn and grow until I reach my goal.
Exactly. And don't forget the power of state management.
Mhm.
Koo emphasizes how important it is to cultivate that positive, resourceful state of mind.
Right?
He encourages us to use those techniques like anchoring or modeling physiology
Right.
to tap into those feelings of confidence,
Yeah.
motivation, and determination whenever you need them.
So it's like you have this whole toolkit of mental strategies to keep you on track and overcome those challenges.
Precisely. And Koo doesn't stop there. He also talks about planning those action steps.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have that clear vision, you've got your specific goals,
Yeah.
you need to break them down into manageable chunks.
Right.
Create that plan of action.
So it's not just dreaming big.
Right.
It's about taking those concrete steps
Exactly.
towards those dreams.
And he encourages us to be really specific about those steps. So instead of just saying, work on my business, it's like spend 1 hour each morning working on my website or reach out to 5 potential clients every week.
That level of detail is really crucial, isn't it?
It is.
It removes that ambiguity and makes it much harder to procrastinate.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then finally, Koo really emphasizes the importance of visualizing success.
Okay.
He wants us to create those vivid mental images of ourselves actually achieving the goal,
Right.
experiencing the emotions,
Yeah.
enjoying those rewards.
So it's not just thinking about our goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's about actually feeling them,
Yeah.
embodying them, as if they've already happened.
Exactly. Koo says that visualization is this incredibly powerful tool for programming our subconscious minds
Right.
and actually attracting those resources and opportunities we need to succeed.
This is amazing. It's like he's giving us this whole new blueprint for creating the life we want.
Yeah.
But, with all this focus on achieving goals and like designing our destiny, are we in danger of becoming like too obsessed with the outcome?
Right.
What about just enjoying the journey?
That's a really great point. And Koo addresses that. He actually emphasizes that goal setting, it shouldn't be this rigid, joyless pursuit of achievement.
Right.
It's about aligning your actions
Yeah.
with your values, pursuing your passions,
Mhm.
and creating a life that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling.
So it's not just about the destination. It's
Yeah.
about, enjoying the ride along the way.
Exactly. And he encourages us to celebrate those wins,
Mhm.
both big and small,
Right.
and practice gratitude for all the progress that we're making.
Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive.
We've covered so much ground, from the power of beliefs to the importance of taking responsibility to that transformative power of goal setting. It's like Koo has given us this masterclass
Yeah.
in mastering our minds and shaping our reality.
Absolutely. I think the main takeaway here is you have way more power than you think to create the life that you want.
Yeah.
It all starts with understanding the incredible potential of your mind and then applying these principles to unlock that potential.
And that's what makes this deep dive so valuable. It's not just information. It's a set of tools,
Yeah.
insights that you can start using right away. Now, here's a final thought for you all to ponder. If you could wave a magic wand and instantly achieve one of the goals we've discussed today, which goal would you choose and why? What would that achievement mean for you and your life? We encourage you to really explore that question and see where it leads you. Until next time, keep diving deep.